This is SKreitzer, and the design plan that I decided to do was naming and formula writing. I'm a high school chemistry teacher, and this is a topic that I teach every year around December. The instructional goal that I chose was learners will be able to accurately write names and formulas of chemical compounds, which is a pretty important skill to have when you're learning chemistry. The reason I chose this goal was because many students struggle with this. Honors students typically do pretty well with it because they're diligent enough to learn the rules and procedures for writing names and formulas, but college prep students, for some reason, just have trouble with this every year. The second bullet point says that it's essential for success in chemistry, and that's true. I usually hit this around December after we've done a lot of foundation work for the course, and the topics that come after this, such as chemical reactions and stoichiometry, are really difficult for students if they don't know names and formulas of chemical compounds. So if they could master this, I think it would make the third and fourth marking period a little bit easier for them. The objectives and learning theories. So I have two objectives that I've shared here. Learners will write names and formulas for ionic compounds, and learners will write names and formulas for covalent compounds. Those are very identical. There's only one word that's different that I have large and bold on the screen, and that's ionic and covalent. There's a certain rule for doing ionic compounds, and there's a different rule for doing covalent compounds. So if the student can learn the rule for each and be able to differentiate between ionic and covalent compounds, in theory it should be smooth sailing. So in the left-hand column I have the strategy that was used, and on the right-hand column I have the associated theory. So one of the strategies I decided to use was a flipped lesson. So students at home will watch a vodcast one night on writing names and formulas for ionic compounds. And then when they come to class the next day, the first thing I'm going to start off with is a quick 5-question review with the clickers. That will kind of let me check if they've paid attention, if they actually watched the vodcast the night before, and it'll give me an idea of how much they remember from watching the vodcast the night before. And it'll also help them focus on what we're going to be doing during that class period. They will then practice that skill during class, and hopefully that will promote self-efficacy, because as they practice with the support of their peers and with the support of the teacher, they will feel success in doing this. So that's the idea behind doing the flipped lesson. They can watch the lecture outside of class and do the practice during class. And then after they've learned how to do ionic and covalent compounds, they're going to do a Google Drawing flowchart with a partner. So I'll pair them up with somebody, and they'll use Google Drawing in order to create a flowchart that has the names. If you're dealing with ionic, you do this. If you're dealing with covalent, you do this. And there's a few little avenues that they would have to follow correctly. That kind of lends itself to social cognitivism, because the students will be working together to create the rules in the process. Also cognitivism, because it emphasizes the mental process and organization of their flowchart. And metacognition, because students really have to think about the process and decide, okay, now I'm doing ionic, so I have to use these rules. Now I'm doing covalent, so I have to use these rules. And they have to differentiate between them. The learning technologies that are involved would be the flipped lesson. That would involve me creating a vodcast using Camtasia on how to write names and formulas for ionic compounds and how to write names and formulas for covalent compounds. I would also do the review the next day when they come into class with the clickers, just to get them engaged, check what they learned from the vodcast the night before. It allows me to assess and see where they're at. And then the Google Drawing flowchart would be another technology that we're using.